Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm here with my friend Hazel,
Yes.
and the reason I'm here with her is because I've been wanting to bring attention to a lot of things. God first, and then she went through a situation where God helped her. I feel like God helped her, and through her story, I want to bring attention to God first, and secondly to what happened to her. I think what happened to her shouldn't be happening. There's a lot of people that are being taken advantage of, and they feel powerless sometimes. And I think getting the information out is the first step to correcting whatever's going on. So, hi,
Hi,
Hazel.
hi. Thank you for having me today, my friend Edgar. So, guys, it's just a short story about last year when I went to Qatar for work as a housemaid. Still, it's like at first I feel like everything will be falling into place until it came to the point that I'm already there in Qatar and it's like a month already. But what I expected from the reality that they taught us when I was still here in the Philippines, when my agency is like telling me that when you go to Qatar, you can make your dreams come true, build your house again, or you can take out your family
So they
from
sell you a
poverty.
dream, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. So it's more on like sales talk. That's what we call. And then it was like, so when people like me, we believe to what they say, what they taught us that everything will be okay there. Qatar is a nice place. Indeed, it is a nice place though. It's a nice country and it's beautiful. I've been in Oman and in Dubai also, but it's not the same like as what I say from Qatar. Okay, I've met some few people there, including my agents there, who is connected to the same agency here in the Philippines. So we also have another agency in Qatar. But then at first I'm fine, and then it feels like everything is like vanishing from what I learned during the orientations here in the Philippines. It's far different from what I encountered already when I was there. First employer, second employer, third employer to the fourth. So I didn't expect that I would be in the fourth employer. Really,
Four. Okay.
yeah. It feels like what am I? What did I do wrong that I have to be moved?
So why did they move you from? You move yourself? You quit, or what
No.
happened?
At first, my first employer they just returned me to the agency after 10 days because we are two Filipinos and the other lady she come first before me. So maybe they realized that they don't need two, they need only one. So okay, I was like very sad that day because I'm thinking I don't want to move to another family because this is what I'm already trying to fit in already, and I memorized the chores already in the house. But then they have to return me back. This is the reason what they said to me that they don't need two housemates at that time. So I said, okay, fine. And then I was like, okay. And then I went to the second employer and it's like crazy because the second employer, when I was there already, when they took me, when they are calling me from the agency, like they said that it's just three of us, mother, the father, and the son. But then when I go to the house already, it's like a mansion, a big mansion, and I'm serving more than like 30 people.
30 people. You thought it was gonna be three.
Yeah,
And it
it's
turned
just
out.
three. They didn't make it there. Just they pulled me, so I would say yes to them. And I was like the 12th lady who they got from that agency, the
Yeah.
same agency, but they keep on returning back
We're
again.
gonna name the
Yeah,
agency in a little while.
yeah, we will name the agency. So, and like I said, "Oh, this is not supposed to be like this. You told me that there's only three-person that I should serve. I should cook for because
Yeah.
they only took me as a cook.
Yeah.
So okay, I cook. I know how to cook. So I'm only into the kitchen.
So you're supposed to just be a cook
Yeah,
for
just
three.
a cook. Okay, but then it came to the point that I have to cook for everybody else, including the housemates there. Okay, I'm fine. Like I like to serve my people also. But sometimes it's like the one who you can trust, you thought like you can trust them, but it turns out no. So it feels like you are being thrown away to this country, and then you don't have other choice. But my reasons why I left the Philippines is because for my family. So I didn't have other choice but to just go with the flow, work hard until came to the point that I was already 15 days, and I become on the 13th day already I was sick already. Because when you are cooking so much almost all day, especially when they have gathering there, you are the one who's cooking, you are the one who's washing, you are the one who's serving. All
So
these
you're doing
things.
everything,
And
instead
you're
of just
going
cooking.
upstairs, going down up like, so you don't have like time at least to go to pee, and then you will only have the time to use your phone at night or during the break time, but then you will not have your time to use the phone to call your family during break times in the daytime, because it's just an hour. So what kind of rest that you can do, since your body is like too tired already?
So you only lasted 15 days, your body shut down pretty much.
Yeah, just shut down. I was very sick that time, and then my hands, the right hand was like totally swollen to my arms here, because it's
so
like
much
when
work.
I'm cooking. So I said I cannot anymore, and they were so angry at me. They were trying to convince me to stay because they already liked the way how I'm cooking, because it's not easy for a person, especially Filipino, even if you have experience in the Middle East, being a cook or somewhere else or housemaid. Like, they already said, "Oh, you're doing good already. We like your cooking. What is the matter with you?" I said, "I tried to ask you, madam, can you just please give me some medicines?" You ignored me. I texted her because I couldn't go to her to ask her, but they said, "Oh yeah, I will give you. But wait, I'm already dying here. At least give me some medicines." Testing my madam too, if they will be like reliable also, even if I will stay here, if they are good. It turns out they are not, because just giving them the test to see if they are good. But I have medicines in my bag. I brought some medicines from Philippines that I can use whenever I need. And then on the 15th day, she was so mad at me that I was asking her already, "I want you to return me back to my agency because I can't. You see me, I'm so sick. I can't even work. I didn't go down to the kitchen to cook anything." So they were like already shouting at me, being troubled already.
All right, so we're with your second employer. You're 15 days in. Your body's shutting down. They're not giving you medicine.
They're not
listening to anything, and you're pretty much done working. You haven't cooked, right?
I haven't cooked, and I was like, I'm just praying at that time that whatever is going to happen to me, because I know this family is really powerful in Qatar, because they have police in their family. So I was like, God will protect me, I know, and God will heal me. Whatever it is, He will be there to heal me. I was like crying already every night for the last 5 days before they even try to return me back. And then they both employers, they didn't give my salary directly to me. They give it to the agency instead.
They just took
So I was like hoping that I could at least send some to my family, because I just left them and I didn't give them any allowances before I go. So they let me rest.
Do all these families pay? They never pay the person. They always pay the agency.
They will pay the agency for the days that I worked for them. So the third one is like a trial also. So they try to sell me out again for the third time, but it's just a trial. So 5 days they returned me back again. Didn't went well. They saw that my hand's still swollen and I can't do anything. Like I can barely wash the dishes because it's just I can't hold it nicely. I will drop the plates or the glasses.
So you went through 5 families?
4.
4 families.
So the last one was like I said already to my agency, I don't want to work anymore. I just wanted to go back home because I'm not well. My hands are still swollen and I can't work properly. I know. So they let me rest at least 2 days, and then they find another employer for me. I have my other agent. She's so dear, she's so kind to me. She always take me.
Well, they're kind, but they know what they're getting you into. They're not really kind.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think so.
I mean to say, being kind to me, that she will understand, that she will give me a time. Rather, I like the treatment is different from the other ladies when they're being in the same agency. So she's kind to me, so I really owe it to her that sometimes she will be giving me more time. So they let me rest few days, and then she find for me another employer. And then this is the last time that I would go to another employer. I said, if it didn't work, I will go back home. And they keep saying, yes, okay, but at least finish your probation period. Yeah. I said, I can't maybe. Just believe to yourself and just pray. I said, I follow. Yeah.
Yeah, just pray. So, all right. So after your fourth employer, you were talking to your agency, you're saying, and they were still trying to get you another job to stay still working?
They want us to, like, they want me still to be in another family, and I said no already. They keep calling employers, and they let me speak to them, but I wouldn't talk even if they give me the phone. I said I don't want.
So did you? So the reason I'm having this story is because Hazel had to escape pretty much the situation she was in, physically escaped. You're saying you escaped from
the agency.
From the agency. Yeah. How did that happen?
It was during the lunch break for everyone in the agency. So my agents and the rest of the returnees, they're same ladies that are being returned by their employers. Yeah. So we are like gathering in one room there. Yeah. In the side of the inside of the office in our agency.
So pretty much all your ladies were overworked and exhausted.
And mixed races there, like mixed nationalities. There are Indian people, there are ladies.
So the Indian people, so are the agencies, is it the same agency that hires from India and here in the Philippines? Okay.
It's the same agency. And during the break time, they want us all to be going to the accommodation to eat lunch, which is I refused to go. Yeah. I stayed in the waiting area. I said, I'm still full. I have some biscuits with me. I will eat this. I don't want. I'm just going to wait for another employer. If there is another, so be it. Okay. It's just I fooled them to that I'm staying because I want to find another employer. But turns out that I'm planning.
You were tricking them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just tricking them. So I didn't know that my other colleague there, she's hiding in the bathroom because she doesn't want to go to the accommodation as well, and she wanted to escape. Yeah. And when everybody left, I was like, I turn off the light because at least I will get some rest there a little bit until everyone is like totally like after an hour I will be escaping. Yeah. So I was shocked when she go to the room and she entered. I said, "What are you doing here? Like, you're not supposed to be here." And then she said, "Shh, I don't want to go there. I wanted to escape already." I said, "Oh my God, you planning to escape?" Like, I said, "Yeah, I'm having." She was like, "Okay, here's the thing. I'm also planning to escape. That's like, oh my God, let's do this. I want to go to the embassy because it's not going far anymore. Like they're not giving us salaries, you know."
And then when you're not working, you're not getting paid, are you?
Yeah. Okay. No, we don't. Wow. Even if we pass already 1 month that we need the salary at least to send to our families back home, they don't want to give us until we will go to another employer and be like, if they transfer your name already under their name, their to be the employer. Yeah. So like it's not like they will give your salary still. It's they will fool you with that. They trick you with that just for you to work. Yeah. So we both decided to go out of that agency, and we wanted to go to the embassy, Philippine embassy.
So you both decided you wanted to escape the embassy. At this point, you guys were, is it a multi-level building or is it just one floor?
It's a multi-building, level building, but we were just in the ground floor.
Ground floor.
Yeah, so I told my friend Michelle, I hope that if you're going to watch it, you will remember how we did it that time. And I'm so happy that I was with her and I'm able to take her with me and escape. Like, we were so nervous, and before we leave the room, like, so, like, we pray that if it's meant to happen, it will happen. God will help us.
Yes.
And I told her first, if you see me, I go out of this door in the back door, and if I didn't come back within 5 to 10 seconds, it means to say that I'm already out.
So you were planning to just run out of the building, not knowing what's outside the building, really, right?
Yeah, we don't,
Okay.
And I just told her, because it's been many times that we go and come back to the agency, so we know already the ways, and we know already where is the big trash cans there that
where you can hide.
we can hide. So I just told her simply that we will, if you don't see me within 10 seconds, just go out quickly.
Okay.
And go to this garbage area and then just hide there with me. And then we would, maybe she noticed that I didn't come back at a few seconds, and then she ran quickly to me, and then I was like waiting for her, and then praying and nervous, like you are trembling, and
this whole time you're praying.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just pray, because no one is going to help us but the Lord Jesus. And she came. We just rest for a few minutes, and then we start going like we're thieves at that time.
Like you're escaping.
Like we steal something. Like we run to this area, we hide again. We go.
So run to this area, zigzaggy.
We go here and there, and then we go inside convenience stores. Which is when we escape, both of us, we don't have any money in our pockets. I have my phone with me. I have my passport with me. Okay. She doesn't have anything with her. And I think, I don't know, she have some kind of a few dollars from Qatar. But they didn't, this guy, he didn't let us pay. And then he...
No. So when you were telling me, you escaped, right? And then you end up in a taxi?
It's an Uber. When we go to that side of another convenience store, I saw this, like, something is like pushing me, like, I saw this car. It's like, maybe. It is, yes. So I saw this guy from, like, the passenger seat behind the driver, that he's
paying, right?
Paying the driver. So I thought, I know that it's an
it's an Uber driver.
It's an Uber driver. So when he got out of that car, I ran quickly to him and then just knock on the windows, and then he opened it, and then he said, "Where you heading to, sister?" I said, "Are you an Uber driver?" When he said yes, immediately we just go and sit inside, and then we just lock the door, and then we say, like, "I'm so sorry, brother. We just escaped from the agency. We're Filipinos, and we don't have money. Can you take us to the embassy?" And then he was like, "Cool down. Okay, I will take you." Oh, really? Thank you so much. We're like holding hands together, me and my friend Michelle, and it was like magical, and like we're praying in Tagalog. I said, like, Lord God, kung ito man para sa amin tong bagay na to, tulungan mo kami na makarating ng maayos doon sa pupuntahan namin. We're like holding hands that time, and then I can't say anything, like, because she's so nervous as well, and I am as well. Like, but when you feel that someone is like, something is like, there's an energy that you feel inside you that is hugging you, warm, that it will give you comfort, although still you feel shaky, everything is like, until we're like talking to the driver, and then he was like, "Don't worry, because I will take you safely there." And we're still scared, because maybe he was just tricking us too. Maybe he will take us to the police station, but it didn't happen. And then along the way, like he was saying, like, I also have other friends who I helped before when they try to escape the agency, because same story. And then we reached the embassy, and then he was like, "Sisters, I hope that you will find your way back home." He was like, he's a Muslim guy, and he's praying for us. And I hope you will be good, and just go back home if you can. I just told him, "Do you have a WhatsApp number, so at least we can message you that we're safe already here?" And he said, "Okay, he gave us the number." So since I have the phone, I just saved it with me. And then this is the Philippine embassy. You can go run quickly inside, because maybe someone followed us. And then we just said thank you to him. I'm so sorry, brother. We can't pay you anything because we don't have any money. That's why I asked for his contact. So whenever we get some money, then we will pay him back. Like he said like this, no need for you to pay me. Just pray to your God just to bless me. He's a Muslim guy, and I don't expect him to say.
Do you know his name?
I forget his name.
Do you have it somewhere? Okay.
Yeah, it's in my phone, by the way. Like, the thing is, like, when we're entering the building already for the embassy, like, it's like, we made it. I know God is like, did you feel that? Did you feel that? Like, we're talking like this. Did you feel that hug that we didn't know where it come from? But it's like, she said, yes, I felt that. And I'm like, happy, but I'm still scared until we are already inside, and then we tell the story, and then they didn't let us go to the agency, although they called on the agents, our agents from the agency at that time. We saw them from afar, but we didn't have the time to talk to each other. So when we're already there and they took us to the accommodation shelter for Philippine embassy, everything is there. We don't have anything. We didn't bring anything, so they just take our things, my things like my passport and my phone, because it's not allowed to use at all. Okay. Just they let us contact our family that we're here already.
Before they take everything away.
Yeah. But then I told the person who is in charge, sir, can I just message first that Uber driver who's take us here to say thank you, and he will not be worried about us because he knows our story. So they give me like 2 minutes to contact him and said that, brother, we're already here. They will not let us go back again to the agency, but we're going back home, but we don't know when. So they give us chance, and then they let us call our family. But unluckily for Michelle, she couldn't talk to her family at that time because she doesn't know. Like she don't memorize the number. But I memorized my mom's number, so I called her. And then I just asked my mom, can you contact, I just told Michelle, do you have any names for Facebook that we can contact? So I will give it to my mom, so she will contact it for you to tell that you're okay with me here in the shelter already for Philippine Embassy.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. Because she became my responsibility as well, because I'm older than her. Like, I become her bigger sister. Yeah, and I said I will always take care of her here because we're from the same agency. Yeah. And so I told my mom, I escaped the agency. I'm already here in the embassy shelter. I'm just calling you out just for you to know that we're safe. I'm safe with my friend. We escaped together. And then I will be going back home. I will teach you some things to do there here in the Philippines. Like, you have to go to these things. I give her so many instructions that she will follow, so she would know what to do. Yeah. Don't worry about me. I will be safe here. Everything they will provide for us here. In the shelter, like we have everything, even the underwears, the undergarments that we need, clothes, food, roof, everything they provide for us. But then I didn't know, okay, the time that I was feeling safe already, I start to forget God already, because I became like, oh, too many people here. Yeah. I'm hearing different stories that I felt like my story doesn't count, like to be.
Yeah, you probably heard worse stories.
I heard so much worse stories than someone is being raped there, and they're being held there in the shelter without knowing when they can go back home. Yeah. Or if their children can.
So in the shelter, they're raping people in the shelter?
Yeah, so many cases of being raped there, and they don't have power to fight back. Yeah. And the government.
Is this in the embassy?
Yeah, it's in the shelter for the embassy. Separate, okay. And like, you don't have any power there. You're powerless, really. You have your God there. Yeah. You believe to God. They don't believe to God. Muslims, they believe to Jesus, that Jesus is also
I know.
Something else that they love, But it's not that they will worship Jesus. So when you say about Jesus, they will be hating you forever. These Muslim people, that's what I understand. But it's true. Really, it's true. And it's not because of my anger of what happened to me there, but it's true. If you talk about God there, they will really be.
I know. I understand
how it is. Like, so I was like, still I'm praying that I hope that all of these people here in this shelter would be able to go back home, and especially the ones who got raped by their employers and they have these children with them.
Wow.
Because the government will not allow them to take the kids with them. It's a long story, and long process in the court. They go court here and there. Yeah. Just for the kids to be taken to the Philippines.
So you're telling me before that the only thing you were really allowed to do was pray, right? When you were at this place.
And the second day, I was like, okay, it was I think a Wednesday. I said it's okay. We are all like waking up in the morning so early just to eat breakfast. They will force you to eat. Like, you have nothing to do here but eat, sleep, and pray. You have no options. Just do these things and then you will survive. I said, okay. I was like, okay, I will try to pray. Like, they were watching you in the camera if you're praying or not. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Yeah. So, okay, do your thing. You eat, you sleep, you pray. Whatever you are doing, pray.
And how long were you there before?
I was like there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, okay. 3 weeks.
Eat, sleep, pray for 3 weeks.
And then Friday came that they have an event there that outsiders will come to visit to bring some goods for us. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they bring church to us. So they will share gospels, like the Bible to us. Yes. Like they will worship things. And I was like, oh, we really don't have a choice but to pray. Even the Muslim people, they would come to share Quran to us, you know. And but mostly it's the Christians who will always come to visit. Yeah. But then, okay, what I pray when I saw Michelle in the night when it was the second week, because she's losing hope, I'm losing hope. We can.
You already been there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and we don't know what's happening outside. We don't know what our family is doing, and we are only allowed to call them like once a week for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. So 2 minutes or 3 minutes not even enough to ask all the important things that you need to know about your case here in Qatar. So. Like my mom, when I'm calling her, she will start crying. I said, don't cry. I will be so hard on her that don't cry, mama, because I want to know what is happening. Did you ask this? Did you do this? Did you do that? I was like, I need to know first. Talk fast because I have limited time here. Yeah. We don't have time for crying. Then after the call is cut, I was like sobbing, going upstairs and crying. I will cry really. That was the hardest part because you don't have your mother there. You don't have your parents that that will hug you. Yeah. But it's okay because we have each other there. All the ladies, we all have our different, like we have different cases that we've been through. Like it's really hopeless at time. But that's why they keep saying to us that you don't have other things to do here. Just eat, sleep, and pray. Yeah. Just pray. So I saw Michelle. She was like so devastated because she couldn't contact her family. It was isolated area. Yeah. So she tried calling them, but it was like the signal is very bad that she couldn't understand what they are saying to her. And then she was like crying, and she doesn't want to eat at all.
Hello friends, so I hope you guys liked the interview. I know we had to cut it short, but if you guys want, I think Hazel is going to do a continuation to the video on her channel. I will link it when it's ready. And well, thank you guys so much for watching, and God bless everybody.
God bless everyone, and thank you for my friend Edgar. He mean a lot, really. He helped me to be in this position where I'm at now. Yeah. Thank God for that. And he's leaving anyway, so this is the last day that we will be doing some content like this because he might be going back to his country in the US. Hopefully that he will come back in the Philippines soon. If you guys, if I get enough likes, I'll be back to the Philippines. So click like, comment. Where should I go? Oh, yes. Maybe in the province this time. Maybe.